Well, joining me now, Richmond's Chris Mooney. And Chris, let's first talk about the Richmond program, because you've been able to sustain injuries, ups and downs, and remained a program that consistently challenges near the top of the A10, gets into the tournament, can pull off a great win like you had last year against Iowa. What's been the key to being a consistently good program?
Well, I think obviously a few things would go into that. The number one thing is being able to recruit good players. If you can't get good players, you're not going to have much of a chance. And I feel like, where we are, who we are as a school, our tradition, our investment in basketball, all of those things drive us to be able to attract really good players. And when those guys come in, and if they can be on the heels of a class or join a class that's had success and have grown and developed and become good players, that becomes a little bit of what the program identifies as. And I feel like that's what we've been able to do, to, bring in good classes of players and guys who are capable probably of playing up a level or maybe playing up a level, but for whatever reason didn't get recruited to that level, but can develop while they're here and become even better players.
You've also done a great job of figuring out what fits at Richmond. You like to coach a certain way. You were sort of raised in this profession a certain way. Why did you think it was such a good match for you to be at Richmond?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andy. I think probably just knowing of the school and how it worked in terms of its academic reputation. The great teams that Coach Tarrant had in the 80s and early 90s, Coach Beeline having been here and having success with his style of play and system, which is probably similar to what we try to do. And I think knowing guys, Eugene Burroughs was a player in Philadelphia I grew up with who came here. And I think knowing guys, the guys they recruited and had, and the academic reputation of the school and the size of the school, I felt that this kind of program, as you said, the kind that I learned and really appreciate, would be a really good, it would really be a good place to introduce how we want to play and how important that is to us, and be able to attract guys who can play that way and also handle the school academically and do well and thrive and graduate.
You've also done a great job of retaining players in this transfer portal era. How have you done it?
Yeah, I would say that's a great question. And obviously that's really, really very important. I think it's probably important to everyone, but there's more importance on it for us, because when we go out to recruit, maybe partly because of who we're looking at and who we feel can be successful here, maybe our pool of players is a little bit smaller. And so it's that much more important to retain the players that we've had and have been around our program, know how we want to do certain things. I would say the way we've done it is we've had really, really good guys. We've had great families. I think we've been honest in recruiting. Therefore, I feel like the guys, when they come in, a typical guy is going to struggle his freshman year. There are going to be ups and downs. It's going to be hard, but I feel like we've been upfront with those guys and explained to those guys, so it doesn't go from, hey, you're going to be the greatest player or one and done, and now you're struggling as a freshman. It becomes a little bit of, we're trying to pull through this together. And that's important, but more important to have great guys who believe in what they're doing, become good friends, and just really appreciate what this school is. I think that's really important. So that, again, is going to start with recruiting.
Last year, you guys played a series of what I like to say game sevens to put yourself in a position to then win the A10. And then obviously go in and play Iowa and upset the Hawkeyes. What was that like to deal with that kind of pressure in the last couple of weeks of last season, and then actually, shine at the right time and get it done?
Yeah, I would say that, it was interesting. We were so close in so many of our games last year, where it could have been the opposite. We could have been going into DC in the tournament, feeling comfortable, but we weren't because we lost it out of those one possession games. And so it was really, it's so exhilarating, a conference tournament in college basketball. And, obviously you've been to very many, but it's really such a thrilling, exciting competition style. And so I wouldn't say it was as much pressure, especially after the first game, we beat Rhode Island. I wouldn't say it was much pressure as it was just so much adrenaline. We were on the late side of the bracket, so we would play a game that finished at 11 and have to go and play a little bit earlier the next day. And, we played the semifinal at 3:30 and had to play at, 1 o'clock the next day. So it was so much adrenaline. And I feel like we were well prepared, and you're familiar with the teams a little bit from the regular season, but there was so much adrenaline and excitement and enthusiasm. And maybe that for such a veteran and older team, maybe that was really something very positive for us, because really we had played such the long game because they were here so long. And, no matter what, there's a certain, there's a certain way of, not that you get tired of it, but there's that introduction of adrenaline and excitement probably really helped us a great deal.
So you had the Sweet 16 years ago. You win the A10 this time, and I know you've had other success in between, but it felt like that Iowa win, Iowa coming off a Big Ten tournament title, so they had tremendous momentum, and you knock off Iowa in the first round of the NCAA tournament. How much did that add even more validation of what you've been able to do with this program, over the long haul?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, Andy, NCAA tournament wins, outside of 5 or 6 programs, they're very hard to come by. I think Coach K had like 100 tournament wins or something. Well, that's 100 times another team didn't get that win. And so they're hard to come by. And of course they are. You're playing against the very best teams in the country, the best players. Iowa had the 3rd or 4th pick in the NBA draft. So it's really challenging to get those. And I thought that was, that was great. To a certain extent, that's what Richmond, that's really where we emerged on the scene with Coach Tarrant's team, beating Charles Barkley and Auburn in '84, and going to the Sweet 16 in '88. So I feel like there's a little bit of, I had mentioned that in my post game, over the years, Richmond in the tournament and the regular season has beaten big programs, Kansas and Syracuse and Kentucky and Purdue and Wisconsin. And so that's a big part of Richmond basketball. And we shy away from the giant killers talk that used to really define Richmond basketball, but that is a big part of it. And I think that win, beating the Big Ten champion on the biggest stage, was great for all the players on the team, great for our fans, and solidified that team, I think, in the halls of Richmond history.
All right, so this team, how does this team compete atop the A10?
So, well, number one, we have a great player returning. So we're fortunate enough that Tyler Burton is a Conference Player of the Year candidate. We feel he'll be an NBA player, and not only is he a great player, but somebody who believes strongly in Richmond and has developed tremendous relationships at Richmond on campus with his teammates. And, he's a very good player. So that's a great place to start. And then we have, last year we had 4 players take advantage of their bonus year and return to Richmond. This year we have 3 who have done that. Guys who have graduated: Matt Grace, Andre Gustafson, Connor Crabtree. That says a lot about who we are. And, college basketball often comes down to those little particular plays or hustle plays or sense of where your teammate is. And that helps when you have veteran guys. And then we also went in the transfer portal and were able to sign 3 who we think are really good players. So I feel like we've been able to keep our talent at a high level, led of course by Tyler. But we've also, I think, built some pieces around him that have a chance to be very successful.
And finally, Chris, this tournament's in the New York area, and Richmond obviously has got good, strong alumni support. Many times the A10 tournament is up in this area. A member of Fordham when you play them on the road. But what does it mean to play a couple of games, near the holidays in the New York area?
Well, I think it's just the best place for college basketball. The Barclays Center is a place we're very familiar with because we've often played our conference tournament there. We've been in events in the Barclays Center. So I think to be able to play in New York, There's so much basketball going on and so much basketball going on in the city. There's so much talk of it. It's still the mecca of college basketball. So, we feel very proud, number one, to be part of this event in particular, and playing in New York is, there's nothing like it. I think I'm looking forward to a great event, and we're really proud to represent Richmond.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Andy.